You guys have been waiting for it, and it's that time again. It's the Community Redraw. I'm taking some of your monster creatures and turning them into fantasy-style armors, something I've not done before, but let's bring these illustrations to life.
Loved my tale so much you came back for more, did ya? Well, today I've got a special treat for ya. I just got back from visiting my friend in the city of Dragneel in the kingdom of Ishir. A wondrous place where you can get all sorts of armors and weapons made from slain beasties. Some of the beasts were monstrous and fearsome, pulling a shiver down your spines and making one's bravado the size of a flea. Of course, not all of these beasties were ferocious and terrifying. Some are tame and, dare I say, adorable. But you didn't hear good old Bensworth saying that word, you hear? Back to the tale. In Drakenhill is an armour and weaponsmith, a good old friend of good old Ehrenwald's. One of those who are skilled at crafting beasties into something useful. That being said, there are some strange beasties out there that make some rather useful and, dare I say, powerful armours and weapons. Even for my liking. The first rather small, but, well, you know that word that you didn't hear me say earlier. It's the Pythonidae Regius. This creature is one that many believe hails from the vast sea of stars, and has chosen this world to live on. It comes in many a form. Several have been recorded, but this is the more cunning form of the beastie. Perhaps one of the most difficult creatures to slay. That was until you're near something it loved. When it's near something it loves, it becomes vulnerable, just like any other creature. Its near indestructible body can be attacked. When hunting this beast, it can shapeshift and change its size to a degree, making it one of the more difficult but interesting beasties to hunt out there. The more mature members of the species can also predict your next move. It's best to hunt them while they're young, you see. The adults can get in your head, make you hear voices and whatnot, even turn you against your fellow man. There is a rumour though, the adults are near immortal and seemingly impossible to kill, even if you get one to lower its guard. Tales of an adult one of these devilish creatures heralds back over the millennia. But rumour has it, the mystical orb of complete darkness and destruction. What's with all these ancient items and their weird long names? Orb of darkness would have done nicely, This orb and a ritual on the place where this beastie first appeared can send it and banish it back to the vast sea of stars from whence it came. But that's just a rumour, and no one has seen an adult one of these creatures in several centuries. Maybe they went back on their own when they reached an old age. Maybe it died. Or maybe it's waiting, disguised as one of its more powerful leaders, pulling the strings of this world from behind the scenes. But that's a story for another time. Back to what I was saying about my good old friend from Dragneel. His shop has all kinds of armour, including one from the species. It's a finely crafted armour, green colours, and the ability to change its shape to fit the owner perfectly. Nearly indestructible, this armour is perfect for most cases. However, if someone is near someone they love, and I mean truly love, the armour does develop weak spots, causing the wearer to be vulnerable to attack. An armour created using this beastie has to be infused with magic. This allows it to keep some of the beastie's powers, including, once the armour has absorbed enough magical energy, its ability to get into the heads of its enemies. Usable by the wearer for a short time. A handy little trick if you use it right. The armour also changes colour based on the wearer, but in its normal state, it's greenish in colour, and that's the creature's eye on the centre of the chest. Of course, due to the abilities of this armour, it isn't cheap, it'll cost you a pretty penny. Although some might say the perks outweigh the costs. What do you think? Next is another one of the, well, that word that makes others feel warm and tingly inside when they see certain animals. Don't get me wrong, it's a fine word, but it's not one that I can stomach to describe a beastie. Because at the end of the day, all they are is beasts. Monsters and strange creatures regardless of what appearance they might have. Next is the pink lunimoth, a giant flying insect from the realm of Lunar. The young of these, well, beasts, about the size of a cart, and most of the time are harmless and docile, like a wee killing a pup. That being said, there are times when these wretched beasts have attacked if they feel threatened. Shooting a silk web that ensnares you is tougher than what a standard blade can handle, and if you get wrapped up in it, well, let's just say you're a goner for sure. But that's only if you're foolish enough to disturb or threaten one of these larvals. The adults of the species are akin to gigantic moths that can fly through the air, and you soon will know if one is above you as the whole place goes dark with shadow. Then it'll start to glow with the light from these beasts, glowing in all kinds of fantasy bright neon-y colours with patterns that look like eyes to confuse and scare predators. I mean, it's a giant flying insect. What kind of predator can it have? But this is just its appearance. You see, the real danger of these colourful beasts lies in the pinkish powder they can produce from their bodies. Not only does it look harmless, but in fact it'll blind anyone who gets close enough to get it in their eyes, man or beast. Since they can fly as adults, it's rather hard to defeat them because of the powder that blinds and the wings to fly. The powder can cover a large area, and it can be near impossible to get away from the threat of this pink cloud. That being said, this beast is impossible to kill in its pupa stage. Once it enters its cocoon, it's near impossible to break without a super powerful enchantment or a spell from a high-class mage or sage. The shell of these cocoons are sought after to make some amazing armours and shields, but the shells are hard to come by. The pupa stage can last for 2 to 3 months, and once these beasts emerge, the cocoon starts to decay after being left out for a week. However, if you can gather enough pieces and get them to an armour smith or a mage who can put a time lock on them, you can sell them for a pretty penny, let me tell ya. Armours made from these creatures can be enchanted to have various effects, one being flight for a short time, and the other being the blinding cloud. Although this can only be used on a solo mission, or if the members of your party are far enough away, as the blinding cloud will affect anybody that it comes into contact with. It's a double-edged sword, but if you use it right, you can turn the tides in a fight. The helmet of the armour has the eyes of the Lunamoth as goggles to protect the wearer from the blinding powder. One of the more colourful armours, with shades of purple and pink. This armour is commonly created for female warriors. A rare sight to see, a beauty in an armour from this beastie and its cocoon. This armour offers a defence higher than some of the more heavier ore-based armours. The fur, like covering the Lunamoth, is used to make plumes on the helmet and shoulders. In these plumes that contain the blinding powder, with the right enchantments and enough time for the magic to charge, the plumes can create clouds of the powder for up to 5 meters wide. Definitely one to keep an eye on. But these beauties only eat nectar, fruits and honey. Now that I think about it, these beasts aren't all that ferocious at all. Ah well, I'm sure the next one will be. Okay, now for one of the more fearsome beasties old Ehrenfeld has come across in his adventures. Not the largest or the most deadly, but a fearsome one nonetheless. And that would be the glacial Celtic raptor. These beauts of a beast are adapt in the ice element, and their bodies reflect that, being more ice than beast. That being said, they do look like wingless dragons or some kind of prehistoric creature from ancient times. Their hides are perfect for repelling the cold of winter in the icelands of Sunil. The glacial Celtic raptor is far from your average beast. These creatures are rather intelligent and often hunt in packs, leading and trapping their prey before making a final strike. If it wasn't reason enough to be on your guard while travelling through the frozen lands, these creatures are also masters of camouflage, being able to hide in plain sight from as close as a meter away. This is due to the nature of their hides having a way to pass energy in and reflect the light on them. Or so some of the fancy scholars say. No one really has a clue, to be honest with ya. Not really sure if it's true or not, but those who wear the armour made from this beastie have been said to blend into their surroundings when faced with overwhelming danger. Either way, it's a nice ability. That it is. It is not a real test of skill and courage though, hiding away out of sight when faced with danger. One should stare death in the eye and make it blink before slaying the wretched creature, escaping its grasp for one more day. The claws of this glacial beast are so sharp that daggers and blades on pieces of armour for the shins and forearms have 3 claws, each in order to slash and cut the opponent down in a fist fight. Anyway, back to this creature. It hunts in packs, so slaying one of these beasties, let alone making an armour from one, remains a bit of a difficult task. There have been many a frozen body, or rather remains of a body found in the territory of these creatures. They will eat what they need and leave the rest for other members of the pack. Only the most experienced and luckiest of slayers can survive an encounter with these beasts. That being said, if you do manage to slay one of them and get its hide back with her, let's just say it's a nice, tidy sum to keep you going for a while. But more precious than the hide is a certain part of its body, its inner body. You see, this fun creature has a unique ability above all the others mentioned. It can open its mouth, and much like the Marzar drake, it can fire a blast of ice out from its breath. There was an ice-like crystal in the belly of these creatures, well, in the belly of the adults of the species, that allowed it to fire blasts of ice from its mouth. Due to its hide being able to protect from the cold, it would not affect these creatures themselves, but it allowed it to use its open mouth to aim the icy blast wherever the wretched creature wanted. It was far from easy dealing with one of these creatures. Imagine dealing with 2 or 3 or more of these icy breathed beasts, all adults and capable of sending you to a frozen grave like a statue. I'm not sure what's worse, being eaten alive or being frozen and then eaten. But the crystal was used in the armours and weapons to create a blast of ice element powers at an opponent, freezing them in their tracks. The armour has a wide range of blue and icy cold colours, flexible and durable to keep the wearer protected in the coldest of temperatures, but also cool in the warmer climates. Although some areas of extreme heat will need magical power to flow through the armour to keep the wearer cool in those inferno-like temperatures. Next, for one of the more expensive and rarest armour plates around, I couldn't believe my eyes. This piece of armour was one that wasn't sold due to how high a price it has in my friend's shop. 'Twas from a beast that is the hardest to slay in one piece. That's because this little beastie has an affinity for magic and has been known to hunt down other magical beasts, nullifying their own magics, paralysing them, and then attacking them. The beast is one of the few that seems to be able to use several types of range attacks and buffs in battle. It may not look like it, but its intelligence is far beyond your average beastie. The closest thing this creature can be classed as is a high-level mage. Yeah, I said it. This creature's like a mage. Its range attacks and buffs can be handled with the right party. The thing that makes this creature almost impossible to slay and use as an armour is its final attack. The beast is one of the most powerful last resorts old Erenfold has seen. In fact, it's downright suicidal when it uses its power and cornered. This little bugger wants to take everything and anyone down with it, building up the magical power in its body until it starts to glow from the inside out. The air around it getting hotter and hotter, so hot that even magical attacks or physical attacks melt away before reaching its body. The next thing you know, the body glows almost pure white until finally the little bugger explodes, completely incinerating every trace of all of those around it, destroying everything in its wake for hundreds of meters around. Although this is only the words of one who has survived the explosion before dying shortly after. It could be the ranting of a man on the edge of his sanity from a horrific experience. This creature has a tail that is often used to make a hammer capable of letting out a magical enhanced impact. This hammer can cause the ground to shake under your feet, knocking you off balance before smashing down and flattening your foe beneath it, sometimes leaving more of a mess to clean up than when you started. But that's not why this armour is so expensive. If you can get the remains of this creature and turn it into an armour For a short time, you can infuse magic power in it to nullify the attacks from an opponent. A handy trick be that. Even those with very little or no magical power can activate this for a short time using the magic in the attack of the enemy. Although, it may very well be your last moments if you try that. If you're not skilled or lucky enough to get the timing right. Imagine it as a last resort. Because if you get it wrong, that'll be the last thing you see, whatever attack or beastie, sending you to the grave. Green in colour, this armour is lightweight but perfect for any adventurer of any class to survive if it's used right. Perfect example of it, not the armour that makes the adventurer, it's the one using the armour. Looking rather unique in its appearance, the armour has a more functional than aesthetic look, but nonetheless, it's one of the best armours available. I can easily clear the treasures of a small kingdom in cost. Oh, I didn't tell you the name of this troublesome beastie. Well, you see, there's a reason for that. This creature doesn't have an official name of sorts, but I like to call it the three-eyed hammertail. As for the official name, maybe we'll find out one day when those fancy researchers and scholars figure out what we'll call it. Now for a rather fast bugger of a beast. One that can reach speeds faster than any horse and cart that you can take, let alone most of the flying beasties and creatures of this world. This beast has been seen feeding on livestock and other creatures, but they've only attacked humans in self-defense. The reason for this is they dislike the taste of human blood. Not sure if they like any other species and races of blood. Like elves, maybe they have sweeter blood, but who knows. These creatures have shown that they can solve problems when hunted, and figure out basic solutions to get out some danger. Although these creatures are super fast, they are able to be caught if you set a trap or catch them while feeding. Otherwise, you won't have a hope in hell's chance of catching one of these beasts. One that's adept at running away, rather than devouring humans. This little beast is pale in colour with spines all over. Many wonder what they're used for, as it seems to have no purpose. Long and slender, this beastie has a frail frame, but super sturdy when it travels at high speeds. Standing almost 2 meters tall and 3 meters long, they weigh that of the average hunter. Unlike most of the beasties out there, these creatures seem to act like bees, or a collective, or a hive. They've been seen dragging back livestock before disappearing into nearby mountainous regions. They don't seem to communicate in normal ways, not unless you count screeches and screaming as a form of communication. Most scholars, even some adventurers, think these creatures known as humanox are far more likely to have some form of mind-to-mind communication. You know what I mean, speaking each other's heads or whatnot. Don't know about y'all, but just having my own voice in my head is more than enough for good old Aaronfold, let alone anyone else's in there. There'll also be signs or rumours of a much larger humanox beast roaming about, but no one has confirmed these rumours to be true. It would appear that most of the encounters with the species have been ones that are male and live like drones, taking livestock. 'Tis a shame. I'd love to hunt a queen humanox or a female of the species. If they really are like bees, it'd be much larger and far more deadlier and ferocious than these. Perhaps she has a taste for human blood. Who knows, but either way, I'm sure she's a beauty of a beast that can give you the willies. My favourite type of creature, one that can get your heart pumping. This armour is more like a leathery design, but for some reason, one doesn't need magic to activate the abilities of this creature. Its fast speed can be used in bursts, but cannot be maintained for long. If it is overused, it seems that the wearer starts to lose some of their life force due to the increased speed of the body cells. There are spells to reduce the side effects of the armours, and if they are not added, one may find themselves with a shorter lifespan. Though this costs a pretty penny to add them. To be honest, good old Aaronfold has seen many adventurers care less about these protective spells on an armour made from a humanox, mainly due to the fact many adventurers don't live long lives. Though that shouldn't be a surprise to y'all. Not everyone is as skilled as old Aaronfold here.
I had a lot of fun redesigning your monsters and creatures as armors. Hope you guys enjoyed how they all came out. I think they look rather fantastic, and it's going to be my new desktop background for the next month. Speaking of community redraws, the next one is design your own demon character. Include one headshot and one shot of the body. Deadline for submissions is the 15th of August. You can submit to redraws@DempseyJillustrations.co.uk or via the Discord. Details will be in the description below. Just wanted to say thanks to That Kind of Artistic Kid, Space Raptors Infinite, Omega Steel Arts, 8H8 Illustrates, and Noxy for your submissions. You guys were the winners, so I'll contact you shortly, and I will be sending you the final version of the illustrations as a little something extra. If you enjoyed this episode, why not check out the first community redraw on the channel, where I took subscriber superheroes and I venomized them.